Welcome, boys and girls. We made it to the end of another week. It's not so casual Friday. You know why? Because this fella's around for his live weekly fan Q&A segment. That's right, boys and girls. You better be vertical, not horizontal, as Kevin says.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the show, my podcast brother from another mother, Mr. Super Kevin Campbell.
How are you? At ease.
Welcome to the squaddies, Kev. Welcome to all the usual smooth criminals in chat.
Well,
About to light it up for another Friday.
I don't watch the chat. That's for you to do, but I'm sure we'll have some fun.
We definitely will have some fun. Welcome, everybody. Hope everyone's had a really good week. Here we are. We've made it to another Friday, another big game. 3 o'clock kickoff, Kev, for the Arsenal. But before we get into all of that and reiterate our predictions for the game against Burnley, have you had a good week? Just want to make sure. Everything been good?
Yep.
Yeah.
I've been on here most of the time. What are you talking about? Of course I have.
I'm rocking the Adidas today, Kev. I'm a swimmer today. I'm a swimmer. Look at all my accolades here that I've won as a swimmer, Kev. I'm just saying, very talented. I got my whistle ready. I've got the cards ready. I'm exhausted from a fantastic trip, but you know what? There's nothing like a session with Super Kevin Campbell to get everyone going. Right, here we go. Let's not hold back any further. Let's just get stuck right into it. It's question 1.
Question number 1, squaddies. I've got the army fatigue look on for you today. Question number 1, let's get straight into it. Number 1, what's your expectation for Bukayo Saka this season? What's the expectation for him? Question 1.
Well, it's a very good question. Another good question from Kev. After the Norwich game, I was definitely not harsh on Saka and just felt like it's, with all the lauding, should come a little bit more of an end product, in my opinion. And if there's an area for me that he needs to improve on this season is getting more goals, because he's so involved in the game. He's so important and integral to the Arsenal, Kev, that his end product, making that right decision, when to deliver the ball, the quality of the ball, and also getting some more goals. Now, he's not a natural goal striker, but when you play in a team, and I think one of the things Arsenal have lacked over the last few seasons is goals from other areas of the pitch. We were always the type of team that got goals from a lot of different areas. And I think that he needs to step up in that regard. Right now, for me, and this may sound harsh to a lot of people, and then I'm going to hand it over to the chat because I always give my response too. Right now, Saka is regarded as a better England player than he is an Arsenal player. And some people may agree with me or not. And maybe that's because he's surrounded by better players with England. But that's how I feel about Saka. Right. Kev, here we go. Tampa Bay, more goals than last season. Matthew, to score more goals for 1. Dubba Ducky, Saka a dip from being our player of the season. Osman, he needs more goals. Gooner Glenn, better at finishing. Pat, Saka needs to stay consistent and score goals. Matt V says 20 goal involvements would be amazing. Consistent Kev. Mohammed, 10 goals at least this season. Brandon, 10 goals, 10 assists at least if he needs end product. I have high hopes for him, but he needs a rest. Craig, evening, Soph and Kev. I just had to throw that one in there. Demsek, I'd like to see Saka add more goals and play more on the right. U to B, great in patches over this season. Newman, I expect Saka to improve, but Arteta is too negative, so he won't.
Hold on. What's that got to do with Saka? We're talking about Saka. Not Arteta, Saka, Newman.
Kev, however, though, when you see progression in players and, you know, how Arteta was able to even help Sterling improve at Manchester City, that's something everybody talks about all the time. We've seen some players regress under Arteta too. Aren't there some players that do excel under certain managers, and aren't there certain managers that really improve players?
So here's the question. Since Mikel Arteta's been at the club, has Saka improved?
Well, that wasn't your initial question, was it?
No, but that's what you're just asking me. So
Yeah.
that's what you've just said. So I'm asking you. Since Mikel Arteta's been at the club, has Saka improved? It's a yes or no answer.
I think he was flying high for a while last season. And
No, Sophie, it's a yes or no answer. Yes,
I think he's plateaued.
No, Sophie, that isn't what I asked. Has he improved since Mikel Arteta's been manager? Yes or no?
And my response is he's plateaued. He hasn't improved and he hasn't regressed.
He hasn't
He's
improved.
just stuck in.
He was our player of the season last season. And
Yeah,
you say
but maybe...
No, Sophie, I've got to get on you on this one, my dear. You can't say that he hasn't improved and he's stayed the same as the previous season.
I think he's improved. I think he's improved for England and he's kind of stayed the same for us. That's what I believe. He wasn't my player of the season last season.
I never said he was your player of the season. I just asked a simple question and you've answered it. So no problem. But in my eyes, Saka has improved big time last season. He was carrying us last season. He never carried us the season before, but he carried us last season. So
he carried us for a portion of last season.
He carried us enough that he got player of the season. That's my point.
All right, well, let's read this. Let's see, Sia here. What's Saka goal and assist for Arsenal this season under Arteta? 0. David, we're just at the beginning of the season. Saka doesn't get the full pre-season. He'll catch up with his form. Of course, there's expectation. I've no doubt he will fulfill those expectations.
No, but
Tampa
what
Bay
are
says,
they?
yes, spot on.
That's the question
Yes.
I'm asking you. What are the expectations for him?
I think that, number one, the expectations are too high. 20 years old.
Yeah, but Sophie, I'm just asking what the squaddy's expectation for him is. That's all. Because some might have different expectations than others.
Yeah. Okay. Archangel, here's the question for Kev. Has anyone besides Saka improved under Arteta?
Smith Rowe's improved, hasn't he?
Again, both of them really tired, though, right? Really overplayed, overworked.
Look, Sophie, we're going into different things when you say they're tired, etc. Well, they're young. They're going to. That's what's going to happen with youngsters. But they have
Boy
improved.
says Saka has not improved while Arteta has been at the club. You can't say that to Kev and not say why. Gooner Glenn says he plays better for Southgate. Virginia says, yes, he's improved. Without Arteta, he'd still be playing at left back or left wing back. Arteta has improved, Saka says Tampa Bay. Daniel says, I think Saka needs to be used more sparingly. He's been overused and is suffering burnout.
Here's the other thing as well, Soph. We've seen Pepe improve at the back end of last season, really improve. I know consistency is his problem, but we did see a lot better performances and goals and more of a threat from Pepe as well. So there's a lot of bad. I know there's a lot of people who want to throw crap at the wall, and nobody wants to give any credit. But you've got to give credit because it's there, right in front of us. Yeah,
I mean, you could also say that has he improved because of the quality of players he's played with. Like last year, he played more with, there was Gabriel, there was Thomas Partey, you had Odegaard, you had Ceballos. So you could say that sometimes players improve players, don't they, Kev? It doesn't necessarily have to be the manager.
Well, look, you can't. So basically what you say to me is you can't win. The manager picks the team. You slag the manager off for not picking the right players. And now you're telling me it's the players again who are helping the players. Well, you can't win as a manager then,
I never said it is. I said part of the reason why he's probably improved is because he's playing with a better quality of player. We say that all the time.
But he never improved at the start of the season.
No,
we were
tapped
crap
out
in the first half. We were crap in the first half of the season.
Kevin, what I said was that a player also improves. Look at Riyad Mahrez. He was good at Leicester. He's great at City. He's been playing with better players. De Bruyne, Sergio Aguero, Fernandinho. Players improve when they play with better players.
So relay that to Arsenal for me then, please.
What I'm saying is that Saka got to play, there was more support. There was Thomas Partey, there was Gabriel, there was Odegaard, there was Ceballos. So last season, he was actually playing in a better squad than he had been playing in his emerging season under Emery even, or even when Arteta took over initially from Emery.
But hold on a minute. What was levelled? I've just got to say this. What was levelled that Emery is a better manager than Arteta, etc. Saka never produced that in his teams. They were better going forward. They were more dynamic. Everybody's quick to say that, right? My point of the matter is, you're talking about Gabriel, you're talking about Thomas Partey. They started the season.
No, but
so
you mentioned you asked if Arteta had improved him, and I said, I gave my response to that, and also I said. But also there's a possibility that he did, if in your eyes he's improved, right? And I did say he was good for a portion of the season, and Sophie, then he tapped out.
Sorry, Sophie, you said he hasn't improved and he hasn't got better. He's the same. That's what you said.
I said he plateaued. I said he plateaued. He neither went up or down. But
so
the point is that.
Then.
So I challenged you and said, is it possible that in your eyes he has played better because he's had better players around him?
But he had better players around him at the start of last season, right? Where we were crap. That's my point. We were crap. He had no support, but he delivered.
All right. I think once again we're not on the same page today at all. And I'm just saying that is it possible that if you've seen that he's carried the team, he's been player of the season, that maybe he did that and was able to do that because there were better players around him. You can't argue that Gabriel and Thomas Partey and Odegaard being added into the mix last season didn't help him, in addition to the fact that his evolution, working with Arteta more, in your opinion, would also escalate his talent.
Odegaard came in the second half of the season. The first half of the season, we were awful. That's my point. I'm not trying to just dispel what you're saying. I'm just saying that he improved. Saka improved last season. That's my point.
Okay, I'm going to read you some more. Mark says, regardless of the manager or coaching, do we not expect young players to improve, especially as they improve physically and get experience? What do you say to that?
But that doesn't answer the question. What's the expectation of Bukayo Saka?
He's saying it's expected. So what do you say to the fact that it's expected that he should improve?
I'm asking the question. What is his, Mark Sweet's, expectation of Bukayo Saka? Then he's saying the same things that I'm saying. I don't, what's the point in me asking a question if people won't answer it?
Well, they are. They're just, sometimes they answer a question with a question. Okay, I'll change your sense.
That's not right, is it? How can you answer a question with a question? Surely, if someone asks you a question, you answer the question, then you ask your question.
All right. Let's see. Dimitri says, once Saka starts scoring 20 goals plus, he becomes truly world class. Rick says, need to give him a chance this season. It's only 4 games and he played very well against West Brom. Taib says, if Arteta had fruit and veg store, all his products would be outdated. I should have read that one before I posted it. Ostia Man says, a player's improvement is up to his own drive and talent. No chance that Arteta's lack of tactics will improve Saka. No chance, Kev. What do you say to that?
Well, he improved last season. That's all I'm saying. Didn't he? And
but I think he's saying it's up to his own drive. That's what he wants.
The player has to, but the player has to have drive. And this has been Arsenal's problem. Arsenal haven't had enough of those players with the drive. That's the difference.
Yeah, well, that's true. Mark says, regardless of the manager or coaching, do we not expect young players to improve? Oh, yeah, we already read that one. Hold on 1 second. I had this one up. We're not talking about Xhaka. Saka only appears to have improved in the England team. That's what I said. He's very mentally strong. Do you think there's credence in saying that he looks better for England than he does for Arsenal, Kev? Or is that unfair?
I think that's a bit unfair, to be honest. He was our player of the season last season. Didn't really have a lot of support, especially in the first half of the season. Second half of the season, he tired a bit, which you're going to expect from a 19-year-old. But I mean, he really was the shining light for us last season. And anybody who says different, I disagree with him, to be honest. I thought he was brilliant last season, considering the players we do have and their performances.
Mohammed says Saka was going to improve regardless. Some managers will get him to better heights than others. It's a growth arc. Mark says it's obvious, Kev. I expect him to improve. Mo is another one on the he needs a rest train. Stephen says we've got quality. Arteta should let them express themselves. Fast attacking football. John wants to know if you've had a bad day.
No, not at all. I've had a really good day. But you know what I don't like, John? I don't like people when I ask a question who don't answer it. Answer the question, squaddies. Come on.
I answered it. You just didn't like the answer. But the squaddies, yeah.
No,
I mean,
Sophie.
They're the same. They're asking a question as part of their response.
No, but Sophie, if you answer the question, that's fine. But you don't answer a question with a question. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I mean, I can't help it as a host. It's a natural.
No, I'm saying,
response.
I'm just saying, if you answer the question and then you ask a question, that's fine. But don't answer the question with a question.
All right, let's see what K. Marlon says. Under Arteta's management, Saka has not improved. Woodgate gets more out of him. Jonathan Woodgate? Okay, even you may have lost me here. This is a player who has the potential of being world-class, can be in same category of the Neymars and Mbappes. What do you think about that, Kev? World-class is a little bit far away from.
Well, listen, I don't agree he hasn't improved, because he has improved, and Arteta's the manager, so he has improved. Now we're going to see, and I don't want to get too deep into the response, because obviously I'm going to summarize at the end. But right now is where we're going to see Bukayo Saka, that development side of him now, because there's a lot of pressure on his young shoulders. He's only just turned 20. There's players like Kevin De Bruyne and stuff who are doing it now. Remember when they first came to the Premier League, he weren't ripping it up like he is now. So there has to be a development. Anyway, I don't want to get too deep into it because...
Yeah, no, also Kevin De Bruyne has played with much better players, whether he was at Chelsea or City.
No. Sophie.
You can only look good as who's next to you as well as being class yourself.
Sophie,
one helps the other.
But Sophie, you can't have it both ways. You can't say...
Sure I can.
How can you? You can't say he's playing with better players last season. That's why he's improved. And then you turn around and say Kevin De Bruyne is playing with better players, better than Saka.
But it's that I'm comparing the fact that De Bruyne... That's why I said Saka may be improved in your eyes because he was playing with better players.
No,
and Kevin De Bruyne is going to shine sooner.
He didn't improve in my eyes. He improved in everybody's eyes, Soph. He's a player of the season.
Foden looks good himself, but he also looks great because of the players around him, the way City play. They improve him. He improves in training every day because he's playing with world-class players, Kev. Is that not true?
Sophie, did you hear what I said, by the way?
I think so.
Right. If you remember what I said about Kevin De Bruyne, just said about Kevin De Bruyne, it's got nothing to do with him being at City. I'm talking about when he came as a young man to Chelsea.
Still had world-class players around him.
But he never
Mourinho
done it,
didn't
did
fancy
he?
him.
No, but
Mourinho didn't fancy him.
But he never done it.
No, he didn't. Neither did Salah when he first went to Chelsea.
Yeah, but that's my point about development. I'm talking about now we're going to see the development of Saka.
There's no doubt about that.
Because this is real important time for him now. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that he's not got better players at Man City. I know that. I could tell you that with my eyes closed.
Let's see. IK says, KC, you're wasting your time. These people have made up their minds about the manager like talking to a wall. Actually, no, just having a conversation. I think that players are good and then they're greater depending on who they're playing with. I mean, look at some players left at Barcelona. Without Messi, they look average. You could also argue that Messi going to PSG, it didn't work with the trifecta of him, Mbappe and Neymar. Is that down to Pochettino and management? So I'm saying it's a mix. It's a mix of the two.
It's still early. Come on. I mean, they've got the talent. It's just a matter of them working it out. And sometimes it clicks and sometimes it doesn't. But I'm sure they will get it together because they're too good.
Steve, if you think this is arguing, you're tuned. No, this isn't. This is a discussion. We're having a conversation. And I'm going to get more of your comments up because, sometimes, in my opinion, players look good because of those around them. And then other times, like Jack Grealish carries a team like Aston Villa, goes to a team like Man City and looks even better because of the players around him. That's all. And for Saka, my biggest fear, Kevin, as you know, is that we're not going to build a team of world-class players around him, that we're always going to rely on him. So hence, we're always going to have these kinds of conversations about probably one of the most exciting, thrilling talents the Arsenal Football Club have seen in years and years and years. Because in 2 years, if we don't build around him, Kev, he's hanging out with Grealish every day when he's with England and all the other boys. He'll want to move on.
So I don't think we've got the money to build a world-class team. We haven't got the money to build a world-class team like some others have done it. We don't. We've got to do it a different way. That's what we've got to do.
All right, keep your comments coming on Saka. I may mess that one up for all of you, but I'll keep putting your posts up. I just call it as I see it, and we have conversations based on what Kev throws out. He's got to prove himself big time. He's got to score more goals. He's got to have a better end product. He's not immune to criticism. Stop mollycoddling him on a unicorn when he plays for England, please. Let him grow into a man. Let him grow into being a leader at the team, and let's be as loud in our criticism as we are in our praise. He deserves all of our support. There's no doubt about that. But let's not treat him like a baby. He's a man.
Question number 2. There were so many people having a demand at the back end of last season. So the question number 2 is, where has all the demand gone for Gabriel Martinelli? Where has all that demand gone? Question number 2.
It's very quiet on the Martinelli front, Kev. It's very quiet.
Sophie, I have noticed that actually.
He's not as important anymore.
Well, this is what Kev says he's for, right? It's to put it out there and let's debate it, because do you know what? After the Brentford game, and I know he hadn't had the rest, he'd been in the Olympics. We talked to Jack Wilshere, and Jack Wilshere even said about when your chance comes, you've got to take it. And I thought that was a really good chance for Martinelli to show something. And I know it was a poor performance by the team. I get that. But I still think Martinelli would have done better than he did. But I just want to know where all the demand, because it was Martinelli this and Martinelli that. And now it seems to have subsided. So,
Kev, do you think he was set up to fail in that first start that he got? Do you think that he just... Well, the whole team failed that night. Let's be honest. It wasn't good.
But you said set up to fail. No, I don't think it. Listen,
because he was played down the middle, remember? He was played down the middle.
No, he
and
wasn't.
His
He was on the
preferred
left.
position is on the left. But there was a game where was it the preseason game where he started him down the middle instead of on the left? There was one game, maybe before the Brentford game, where Martinelli did start up front and he didn't have a good showing and he had to come off. And I think Martinelli's never been one of Arteta's favourites. But I also think that Martinelli hasn't grabbed his chances when he's been given the opportunity truly. I mean, we've seen him shine the most in that Chelsea away game, let's be honest. Mm-hmm. Other than that, I've screamed for him to be given opportunities. But I think also, Kev, he thrives more on playing consistently, doesn't he? Week in, week out.
Well, I suppose everybody does, but there's only 11 spots. That's the problem, Soph. And I questioned last season. Some people came at me. I still don't think he's ready. I think he's immensely talented, but I don't think he's ready. He's still so young. And this is our problem. We're putting so much emphasis on these youngsters, Soph. It's too much. They've got to learn the game. They really do need to learn the game. And you know me, I'm not going to say Martinelli should be loaned out. No, I think he's done all his background stuff in Brazil. But Balogun should be out. He should be on loan. So if any of the spots come available for a chance in the team, it should be Martinelli getting it. That's my point. Do you know what I mean? As opposed to Balogun being there, and you might say, okay, Balogun gets on this time, where it should be Martinelli getting minutes.
All right, I'm going to read these out for you. Azim, there are better players in front of him at the moment. That's the bottom line. He's young, so he has time to improve. Dejon says he needs a loan. 33-5er says he still needs to play. FFTV says fans turn like the wind, and that's what happened with Martinelli and Balogun. 100%. Dimitri says, good question, Kev. I admit he's not ready. Cliff is late to the party. What have you lot? Well, just skip the first 15 minutes. How about that?
You catch that up, I tell you.
Darren said Arteta's frozen him out. That's why. Tampa says Gabriel Martinelli had no pre-season. He will be back. We played in the Olympics, but there's a lot of players that are back now from Euros and Olympics, Kev, and clearly are making a mark, whether it's in training or making a mark on being involved in the team. There's going to be opportunities.
No pre-season either, did he? So
no. John Smith hasn't looked the same since being injured. Newman says we've accepted that Arteta has ruined Martinelli. Maybe you have, others haven't. Joe said people saw him once. He didn't score a maybe a hat-trick, so they lost interest. What's the point? Arteta will not play him, says Archangel. Avon says, same with Balogun, both got bullied at Brentford. That's the game, Kev. That's the one where, first game of the season, newly promoted team. That's why I say, okay, set up to fail. People just think I'm an Arteta hater. I like asking questions, you guys. I probe, I push. When we're at the lowest ebb of our Arsenal history, I'm going to ask multiple questions based on the layers and the different arcs and threads that I see of this Arsenal team this season.
There's nothing wrong with questions. That's why we're
here.
And
that Brentford game, Kev, this is why you keep saying that these young players need loans and that they can't be set up like that where we become so reliant on them, or they're put in a position where then they're not good enough after one game. That's what I'm saying. Then fans turn on them and say they're not good enough. Just like Avon's saying here.
Well, maybe the not good enough means they're not ready. Do you know what I mean? They're not good enough means they're not ready because they've got the talent. We've seen Martinelli do stuff that we're like, whoa, incredible. He's got incredible. We've seen Balogun do incredible, but to do it at this level consistently, Sophie, is a lot harder than people think. It's, you know, when you sit in the stand and stuff, things look easy. It's not. It is not easy. These guys will come. Martinelli, I have no doubt, will be a big player for the club in the future. But right now, he's well, I'm going into a bit of what I'm going to say at the end, but I just think being on the bench is right for him.
Gunner for Life says, if our youth was at United or City, they'd play and thrive with good players around them. FFTV says, Kevin is bang on. They're not ready. Brady says, long season, Martinelli would get games. IK says, it's not just the Brentford game. We've seen him play this season. He needs time. Priska, they were not set to fail. They were the only striker available that day. Fair enough. Lone Star thinks I'm swimming up the tide. Against the tide, some... and then Yonik says the tide is overrated. Yes, well done, well said. Boy said, had those players been given more minutes last season, they would have been ready for that Brentford game. We approach things holistically. That's an interesting comment, Kev. You know, we asked them to come in first game of the season. We know we need to get off to a good start, but also as the previous...
That's the problem, Sophie.
Yeah. Yeah.
And here's the issue. Because of, obviously, remember, there was a fiasco with Aubameyang and Lacazette, wasn't there? That on the Friday, the day of the game, that they had to not play. So they just got drafted in like that. So, unfortunately, it was something that you couldn't legislate for. Or you couldn't prepare them for. So
true. And yeah, everyone who comes in should be ready to put in a performance. There's no doubt about that. Red Gilly here says, for a manager who wants his team to press high, Martinelli with his energy should be in. Kev, a lot of people have written that, and we've seen him hustle. We've seen him work hard, graft, chase the ball back, chase it, whether he has the ball or not, you know, going forward, creating spaces. But the hustle going backwards, he's been pretty good at that.
Yeah, but it's about production, Soph. Having energy is great, but that isn't enough. That isn't enough, I'm afraid. Having big energy is brilliant, but you've got to be productive, and you've got to... We're asking the same of Saka, and look where Saka is. You've got to produce. When you're there, you've got to produce something. Being able to chase people back is expected. And the fact he's got great energy, brilliant. But you still have to produce. If you're a wide man, you still have to produce from the wide position. And unfortunately, there's a little bit of adaptation that has to take place for Martinelli. And injuries haven't helped him, because when he was flying, you know, he got injured and stuff like that. And it's going to take a little bit of time. It is.
And I guess those players that come in as potential flair players where there are expectations, Kev, when you don't deliver consistently, or when you're given your chance, you expect those kind of X-factor players to really jump on them and take them, don't you? And that's been a bit tough for him.
Yeah, it's been tough. And you know what else, Sophie? This is a part of my thing at the end, but I want to say it now. I think it's really important. The fact of the matter is, the Martinellis of this world need to be coming in the team when the team are playing well, where the experienced players are fully functional and we're doing well. Then they will have it easier because we're playing better. Them coming in when we're struggling makes it double hard for them youngsters.
Is it because of just pure God-given talent, or where they're at age-wise, that Saka and Emile Smith-Rowe have developed or shone in the team, Kev, whereas even players a little bit older than them, like the Reece Nelsons, the Joe Willocks, you know, the Maitland-Niles is still trying to fight his cause and prove himself as a player at his age. You know, and Eddie Nketiah is persona non grata right now. We always put these expectations on these young players, and mostly it's always because there's no one around them to take the burden off their shoulders.
And this is my big problem about the club. The experienced players haven't carried the team, haven't been there. So who's going to nurture? Reece Nelson's got incredible talent. Who's going to nurture him? Eddie Nketiah's got great talent. Who's going to nurture these players forward? Who's going to put their arm around them and show them the right way? This is how you do things. And then, Soph, to actually back it up, you see that experienced player doing it on a week by week basis. So I've seen the way he trains and look at how he performs. Not, this is how we train, and then they go out there and they're looking to the youngster to be the main guy. No chance. That's not going to work. And that part of this Arsenal has been so difficult for the boys. And some take to it different to others. It seems like Smith Rowe and Saka's game has developed quicker in the first team than a Reece Nelson or maybe a Joe Willock even at times for Arsenal. But you know what? If anyone could put their finger on it, they would have had it locked down for 100 youngsters at the football club. Yeah. Sometimes you just can't put your finger on who is going to dovetail in and develop quicker until you give them an opportunity. And Saka and Smith Rowe have done it, and they've just gone, they've flown, haven't they?
And sometimes some players are just more talented than others, and they can escalate a little bit faster. I wanted to put this comment up for you from Brandon. They're not ready. They have talent. These kids need time. No pressure. Liverpool kids have no pressure compared to our kids. Look how Liverpool's players are coming up. Those players have Van Dijk, they have Alisson, they have Henderson, they have Salah, they have Mane, they have Firmino, they have Fabinho.
That foundation. And so even James Milner. Milner, there.
Absolutely.
James Milner, old head, been there as a kid, been that youngster. He knows how to speak to them, knows how to, cajole them and bend them and mold them and, seeing these experienced players, that has a big effect on these youngsters.
Yeah. Kev, you can't make, and Mark, look, did you know who was in that team with the kids? With Fergie?
Exactly.
Cantona, Bruce, McClare.
Robson, Hughes.
Forget about it.
Schmeichel. Come on, Mark. What are you talking about? That's experience right down it. Right down the spine.
You should know better. And exactly, Cliff, they had Klopp, which is true. Even Kev will admit that. Come on, Klopp is a first-class manager. Every Arsenal fan would have loved to have had Klopp at Arsenal.
And here's what...
given the opportunity.
Sophie, if you see what Klopp done, Klopp bought functioning players who can function.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not the fancy names that everybody was looking for, but he bought functioning players, and look what he's built.
What he did too, and by the way, I wanted to put this up because Avon called you Sir Kev. I think we'd all be interested. I could actually do the knighting with the real samurai sword right here whenever we want to have the ceremony.
You take me head off, I tell you, Older, where's that Sophie with the samurai? I'm backing up.
But yeah, Kev, also what they did at Liverpool was they started front to back, didn't they? So Van Dijk and Alisson were really the last pieces to the jigsaw puzzle, which is why they leaked goals and they weren't, as prolific. Okay, we're going to get to the third question. I'll keep putting your comments up for Super Kev. I'm gonna make you Curtis. Hello, Curtis. You and he never agree on much, but it makes for fantastic conversations. Makes you wonder why Arteta bought relatively inexperienced players this summer. Team clearly lacks leaders. And I'd like to dovetail this before you jump in, Kev, because when Edu gave his interview, he said, now the next goal is to sign world-class players. In my opinion, we should have signed the world-class players first and then shoehorned in the young players like Emile Smith-Rowe and Saka and all these rising stars and talent. Why?
If you get them, if you're going to go and get world-class players, you need to be playing in Europe. We are not in Europe.
Well, I bring that up all the time that we're not in Europe.
No. World-class players, Sophie. We're talking about world-class players now. We are not in Europe, and the team is a mess. So what we need to do, we need to get our act together and show that we're moving in the right direction. Once we show we're moving in the right direction, and then you could see, do you know what we could do with 3 players or 4 players? That's when you go all out to get these players. But very rarely you do it the other way around. Very rare.
I agree, and that's one of the reasons we were able to sign Laka, Oba, Thomas Partey, Gabriel Tierney, Pepe, was because we still had the Europa League carrot to dangle. Profile of our players changed for sure signing this season. But Kev, if you're really selling, like you say that Arsenal's still a major attraction, that we're still a big club, that people still want to come play for us, why can't we say to a player like Thiago Silva, I understand Sergio Ramos not as much, but world-class players who've played world-class, and say, look, come, Thiago Silva will make you captain and you'll be in our defence, but for one season you're going to be out of Europe, but you'll get us back to Europe. Why can't we sell that? Then we're not the big club we claim to be.
Sophie, it's not going to happen because we can't afford, because they're going to go to the teams that are in the Champions League.
No, but what's this?
No, Sophie, you asked the question. I'm going to answer it. We can't offer European football, and they're going to pay them more money. So we're stumped. And as for Curtis's question, again, Arsenal are going for functional players. We've tried all the names and the fancy this and that and got nowhere. So what do? We have to start becoming a functioning team again. Functioning team meaning functioning consistent. That's what we lack.
Okay, but how about a functioning ownership that says, you know what? Okay, and just hear me out, because I'm playing devil's advocate here, and I'm saying that out loud to everybody. Playing devil's advocate. What if you did go and get Antonio Conte and said, listen, we're going to give you this war chest. You're going to be out of Europe for a season, but your job is to attract, because you're Antonio Conte and you've won everything with Juve and with Chelsea and with Inter Milan. And for one season, you're going to be out of Europe, but we're going to give you all the tools and resources. And your job as Antonio Conte, winner, chicken dinner, is to go and convince Thiago Silva and go and convince these other players to come and sign for the Arsenal, because next season we're going to be in the Champions League and you're going to deliver that. Where's that ambition?
Well, it was never there because they skipped that opportunity twice. So, again, we could talk about that, but there was an opportunity to go and get Allegri twice, experienced managers twice. Although they brought Emery in, Emery weren't even on the radar when we got him in. Let's be honest.
Correct.
So again, we're going to get, for these so-called world-class players who you mentioned, they're not going to come to Arsenal with no Europe, and we're going to get outbid.
Yeah, but I do think, though, Sean, at some point we could have taken a gamble. Klopp wouldn't have been a gamble. Pep wouldn't have been a gamble. They're calculated risks. You're going to get ROI with them. We whiffed on all of those managers. We whiffed on Pep. We whiffed on Klopp. We whiffed on Conte. We whiffed on Tuchel. We whiffed on all of them.
So, if you know the funny thing, who's to say if they come, it works?
Oh, I think it would have worked.
Unai Emery has won stuff everywhere.
No, but he's not a league. He's not a league coach, Kev. He's a cup coach.
No, but he couldn't even get that done. Sophie.
Well, he lost his final, but that's because of the players, right? Not because of him.
No, but Sophie, my point is this:
is it not because of the players that we lost that final?
Sophie, my point is this: he is an experienced manager, is he not?
He's a cup manager. He's not a league manager, Kevin.
Sophie, I asked you one question. Is he an experienced manager? Yes or no? I'm not talking about cup or league. He has experience
managing various teams, yes.
No. Is he an experienced manager? Yes or no? It's either yes or no.
He's an experienced manager
Is he yes or no, Sophie? It's a simple answer, yes or no, please.
And so was my question about it being the players in the Europa League final, but you failed to answer that.
No, but
yes,
I asked the first question. I asked the first question.
Yes,
right?
He's an experienced manager.
We know the players messed up in the Europa League final, but as I always say, the buck stops with the manager. The key to all of this, Sophie, is you might think it's simple to go out and just get these guys. It's not. It is not. It is not simple.
All right, let's go to question number 3. There's an underbelly of a fire today. It's not like fire up on the top surface, but it's one of those internal bleeding situations that's going on today.
It's that samurai cuts you're giving out. Jeez.
Kev, you know you avoided the Europa League. It's the players. Come on,
I just answered. Didn't you hear me answer it?
Okay.
No, hold on. No, hold on. Did you not hear me answer it, Sophie?
You said the buck stops with the manager at the very end.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. If you listen to what I said, and I shall repeat it. Yes, the players messed up. You know that. I know that. But the buck stops with the manager, the so-called experienced manager.
Yes. Experienced.
That's what I said.
A prolific manager in cup competitions. Right, here we go with the final question. It's not so casual Friday. I told you guys need to be vertical, not horizontal. Here we go with question 3 from the ledge. That is Super Kev. We are so not on the same page today. In fact, it's been like that this week. I wonder what's in the air. Is there a Mercury retrograde?
It's all that sunshine in Arizona. I'm jealous.
Probably. The desert. Here we go.
Bonus question number 3. Is the Arsenal fan base prepared to wait for a competitive team? I don't know how long, but are you prepared to wait for a competitive team? So that's question 3. So I'll recap. What's the expectation? Question 1. What's the expectation for Bukayo Saka this season? We all know he's had the Euros, etc. But, you know, he's just turned 20 and he's a shining light for us. So what's the expectation for him? Number 2, where's all the demand for Gabriel Martinelli now? Where's it gone? Because I don't hear anything. So where's it gone? And the bonus, question number 3, is the Arsenal fan base prepared to wait for a competitive team? I suppose, if you are prepared to wait, how long are you prepared to wait? Maybe that's another add-on to it. Anyway, recapped. I'll see you on the show. Obviously, we'll engage. We'll have to deal with some of you. I'm sure there'll be great banter. And maybe some of them, I'll have to brock the neck. But let's have a debate about it. Sophie, let's go. And squaddies, I've got the army fatigue look. I salute you. Good night. And at ease.
That makes me want to crack open a beer. But then when I hear this, I've got to be on my toes and I'm going to come at you with a little bit of this. And Kev, there's 400 plus in live chat tonight. Let's bring out Vinny.
Do the Vinny. Hit it, nut it, smash it, even kiss it. But as long as you hit the like button, we love it. Quit it, Vinny.
All right, Kev, I'm just going to go straight to the responses on this one. Good summary, by the way. Okay. No way are we giving Arteta 4 years. Klopp never brought Liverpool's name and honour into disrepute. Oh, someone's upset with Arteta there. Here we go. Let's see. Right here. Drew Emery to the Lions instead of getting him an interpreter like Poch had at Southampton. This is going all to the longevity. Yes, but not under this management. Yes, 100% fans. Yes, is Tampa. So John Hill, Yonik and Tampa say yes. K. Marlon says the volcano is bubbling without erupting. It has a fizzy ending. Virginia says the fan base is too important. Newman says he's prepared to wait, but not with this manager.
Virginia said impatient.
Oh, impatient. Yes, impatient.
Yeah.
Instant gratification world, Virginia. That's the truth of the world that we're living in. It's not just our team and sports. It's life itself. Everyone wants to be an Instagram star, make money quickly. Everyone wants to be a little YouTube star, make money quickly. But you know what? When people realize you got to grind and work hard to get to that end result, you know, that's how it is. And some teams, Kev, they've got the money and they feel like the Cities and the Chelseas and the PSGs of the world have just bought things. But look at PSG and City, the one trophy they want, you guys, Kev, they still haven't been able to do it. Pep Guardiola is complaining to his fan base because there was thousands of empty seats. You know, I've said on this show before, Manchester City are a small club doing great big things.
With a big bank.
That's it. Liverpool, United, Arsenal, those are the teams, and Chelsea that have grown into it. But those are the teams on the international stage. Liverpool, Man United, the biggest in terms of British clubs. Arsenal internationally, huge, massive, huge fan base. Kev says it all the time. And also I say, don't mistake being a crap Premier League team right now with being a big club. And you see that with some of these other squads. Pap says, no, we've waited 15 years. Everyone's looking for Mr. Waffles, Kev. They're afraid that you just knocked him out and he's not been
Mr. Waffles. Me and Mr. Waffles are cool. He's good as gold.
Gooner Glenn says, we've waited 16 years. Who am I, or what was I? Am I in a subliminal universe from the past looking back into the future? I don't know, Kev. Suraj says he's prepared to wait for an experienced team if there's progress. What is that progress, Kev? What does that mean? Another domestic trophy, finishing fourth? What does it mean?
I think progress to some. I can't speak for Suraj personally, but for me, I think progress is us being consistent. We've got to get consistent. And again, Sophie, I'm going to say this. If you notice, I didn't mention the manager because we've discussed this. It may take 2 or 3 managers.
Yeah.
We just don't know. We just don't. It might be Arteta. It might not be. It might be whoever. We don't know. But I think the key is consistently us being consistently consistent in this league. And you know what you're going to expect. You know what you're going to get. And you kind of know the team. You know, you kind of know the team and you're going to expect them to be there every game. Not going to win every game, but you expect a performance. That's when you start thinking, okay, we're making progress. Because let's be honest, Sophie, we don't know what we're going to get at the moment.
Yeah. Exactly. And Demsek, Liverpool waited 30 years. Great point. We had a great conversation on Monday Madness with our secret ref, who's a Liverpool fan. And we had a candid conversation about that because I wanted to tap into a Liverpool fan's mental. They went through some dross, Kev. There's some terrible plays at times.
What did he say?
You know what he always said? He said, somehow you guys have got to find a way to stick together. Because Liverpool fans always find a way to stick together and they support their club no matter what. But also, obviously, the Champions League final, the one that was won and the one that was lost, that helps. They won a League Cup along the way, FA Cup. And then, you know, they saw some sexy football when Torres came and Suarez. But before that period, they went through some dodgy stuff. And he said it was a nightmare to watch. And it was a nightmare to watch Manchester United winning perennially around them.
Of course.
So, okay, Daniel reiterates that Liverpool waited 30 years but still won Champions League in that time. That is quite incredible that they did that with that squad. But who did it? Rafa Benitez. And you whiffed on Benitez. You guys got snobby. I'm not pointing the finger at you, squaddies, but
yeah, you
remember some
at
Arsenal
me there.
fans.
You pointed at me. Oi! I'm thinking, hold on, is that me? I'm not pointing at you, squaddy, so you're pointing at me then.
I don't know. Does it appear like I might be in a bad mood today? I don't know. I don't think I am. But I'm like, Kev, Rafa Benitez, I was all about him. My mate Dan Potts, the same. The two of us were like, yes, and look, he's doing bits now. Let's see where Everton are going to end up being. But sometimes we're so snobby. We Arsenal fans. I don't want to sign Johnny Evans. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Look, listen, we've got a register of all that snobbiness. But don't forget, Everton have spent a lot of money over the last few years. And what it needed, obviously, Ancelotti was the one who was moulding it. Now you got Benitez who's moulding it, experienced manager, which is fantastic. But Everton, without Calvert-Lewin, as we saw, play Burnley, and Everton struggled a bit. They struggled a bit until Burnley scored, and then they adjusted. And in a 10-minute spell, they just wiped the floor with them. Quick. Yeah. And that's how some of these games can go. You could be battling, and then you have a good spell of 10 minutes, and then you're away. You win the game. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Rafa Benitez, I'll tell you.
Right. Yeah, it certainly will. And look, I do agree with a lot of you saying when you hit rock bottom in the Premier League and you get to this point, it's a little bit of a different story. And I completely agree with you. I'm going to hand over to Kevin now so he can give you his responses. Keep them coming, guys. I'm going to keep putting your comments up. Over to you, Kev.
Yeah. The question number one was, what's your expectation for Bukayo Saka? For me, the expectation for Bukayo Saka is whenever he plays, I think we still have to take our time with him and rest him at times. So whenever he gets on the pitch, what we want from him is either we want goals or we want production with assists. Good play, dribbles. That's it. There you go. Yes, I've got the approval. Yes, Saka. Whenever he's on the ball, we want him to be able to produce something at the top end of the pitch. That's going to be the difference now in Bukayo Saka's game. And I could say that a little bit about Smith Rowe, although it's not about Smith Rowe. That for Smith Rowe as well, because production is going to be everything for Arsenal now. Now Arteta's got his team, we've got the back five in place, etc. We've got a new midfield too, hopefully tomorrow. That top end of the pitch is going to be key. And it has to be productive. Whoever plays up there, it has to be productive. So wherever Saka plays, whether it's right, left, number 10, we want him to be productive. Goals, assists, or great play, opening something up. That's what we need from him. We really do, Sophie.
I completely agree with you, Kev. Totally agree with you. Okay, question number two.
Right, where's all the demand for Martinelli gone? That was the question. I think a lot of people, a lot of fans lead with emotion. I get that. And when things aren't going well, it just looks the obvious thing to say, throw Martinelli in there, who last season, who just came back from injury, who's hungry, is eager. Sophie, you made a great point. He's got big energy. He wants to run. He wants to work, etc. But there's fundamentals to this game that to be consistent is what you need. You need to be smart and you need to understand what is being asked of you. And for some, it's easier than others. And I particularly don't think Martinelli's quite there yet. He will get there, but he's not quite there yet. He can produce stunning moments. But consistently, I'm not so sure. And yeah, it probably will come down to him getting more game time. But when you do get your opportunity, he has to take it. And I think that Brentford game was kind of a snapshot for everybody to look and say, well, we expected more. But we expected more from all the team. And we're not lumping onto Martinelli because I think he's a wonderful talent and he's going to be a big player for Arsenal Football Club. But just right now, I don't think he's quite ready yet.
Do you think there's any other club in the country, Kev, where the youngsters are judged more than the Arsenals? To me, it just seems like they're all under the microscope. And a lot of people in chat are asking, why is Martinelli treated a little bit differently to Saka and Emil Smith-Rowe when it comes to criticism? It seems like we're harsher on Martinelli. What do you think about those two things?
Harsher on Martinelli?
Yeah.
Who? How are we... Where was I harsh on Martinelli? I haven't been.
No, just in general, we all are, not you. Just in general,
but I
it
don't
seems
think
like
we
we
are.
have.
Honestly, Sophie, I don't think we are. I truly believe the swell for Martinelli to get a chance last season, back in the last season especially, and he came in and he scored a couple of goals and he looked lively, didn't he? Especially that game against Sheffield United and stuff like that. He looked lively. So there was ups and downs. But I just think Martinelli is learning the game. He is learning the game. And it's great that he's learning the game. But to get in the Arsenal first team and be learning the game when you've got more experienced players there who know the game, there's a difference.
Okay.
That's all. There's a difference.
Totally get that, Kev. All right, very well, answered. Last one, Super Kevin Campbell.
Last but not least, is the Arsenal fan base prepared to wait for a more consistent team? I think the majority are not prepared to wait, if I'm honest with you, Sophie. I think the majority will always look at, we haven't won a title in 16 years or 17 years or whatever. We want it now. And as you say, the instant gratification, I call it microwave, stuff where you just get in the microwave, you ping it and it's done. Doesn't happen in football. It doesn't. Even the teams who spent the money have moments where they have to go through a little bit of pain. And even though some of these squads, expensive squads, have been assembled, there's been times where they've struggled. So if the big teams who spend the money struggle, and Arsenal, who are a big club, who haven't spent the money correctly, struggle, do you know what, Sophie? If I'd have said to you in 1991, Liverpool, or 1990, should I say, because they didn't win it in 91, we won it. If I'd said to you in 1990, Liverpool won't win the title for 30 years, you would have had me in a straitjacket.
I would have, 100%.
You would have had me in a straitjacket. That football club is built on winning.
Yep.
We're built on winning now, but they were built on winning before we were, really, Liverpool. But here's the thing. Football is cycles. And to get the right connection and the right fit, we've had world-class players. We've had Ozil, we've had Sanchez, and all these guys, and we couldn't get it done. We haven't been able to get the league done since the big boys of Vieira and Henry and Bergkamp and all these guys were at the club. We haven't been able to get it done since then. So anybody looking at our squad cannot tell me we're a team who really can win the title. What we got to do, we've got to take our time and build it. And a lot of people don't agree. A lot of people, we're going to accept mediocrity. No, it is what it is. It is what it is. We are not the same club. We do not have the same quality. But what we can do, we can look to build now. Because a lot of the dross and a lot of the pain and a lot of the problem players are no longer there. And as I said, it may not be with Arteta. It may take another manager after that. But we will get there. Some of us are prepared to wait. Others aren't.
Yeah, if this was the 90s, I think it'd be a different conversation altogether. Maybe if it was the 90s, Arteta doesn't get the job. But because we do live in an instant gratification world, and when you see your old rivals just go so far ahead of you in every respect of like football, it's really hard, Kev. And you asked the question about whether or not after that, last Liverpool title, we'd wait 30 years and I would have called you crazy. After the Invincibles season, if I'd have said to you that the Arsenal would go nearly 20 years without winning one, would you have called me crazy?
Of course. Of course. But you don't see the Emirates, what it's actually taken out of the football club. Mm-hmm. It's taken a lot out of the football club to make that move. And that top 4 position has papered over cracks for so long, Sophie. An FA Cup here, an FA Cup there. Has papered over cracks. But the bottom line is our recruitment over that time has been horrendous.
It's been truly horrendous in terms of players, in terms of contracts, length of, the lack of ability to re-sign players when we should have, the lack of ability to build around players like Fabregas and Van Persie and Santi and Ozil and Alexis Sanchez, and letting players go prematurely and selling Adebayor and Nasri and Clichy and all of these players to rivals at the time. The regression has so many arcs and threads, like I said at the top of the show, to it. It's not just, it's like an omelette with so many ingredients, and every single one of those ingredients has led to kind of where we are right now as a club. And that, I think, is the saddest thing about it. And unfortunately, who gets blamed? The manager, the players. They're the ones, because they're in the front line. They're the ones we see front facing every single day. But also behind those scenes are idiots who have, gone into their office every day and walked into their luxury chair and sat in it and been like, oh, yes, I'm going to give, Socrates 100 grand a week. I'm going to give Kolasinac X. I'm going to sign him on a free and get Y. I'm going to let Alexis Sanchez contract run down, and Lacazette. And it's just an ongoing vicious cycle that we just seem to be stuck in this vortex of mediocrity, and coming in, fighting through it and rising above it is tough. And I think they're afraid, Kev, to hire a coach like Conte. I think the club were afraid to hire Klopp. They were afraid to hire Pep.
No, they're not afraid.
Yeah. Managers with too much personality and power and character and charisma.
They're not afraid, They're not afraid. Do you know what they are? They're not afraid. They're too chicken shit to do it. They won't do it. What are you talking about?
It's not afraid is chicken shit.
No. I'm saying that it's not that they're afraid. They're just not going to do it. They've had 2 opportunities to do it, Sophie. Twice.
They're cheap.
Well, spin it how we want. Right? They had the opportunity twice, Sophie, to go out there and get somebody who can really make a difference on this football club. But they're not going to do it. Why? Because they know they're not going to come in and stand for the crap that's been going on.
You know what, Kev? I actually think this is why morally there are a lot of Arsenal fans that wouldn't want the Qataris coming near, or any group like that coming near the club. But because they see how football works, and in their minds, and sometimes rightly so, how corrupt things can be. Financial fair play and all that nonsense, City getting away with what they get away with, and whatever it is, Kev, that a lot of Arsenal fans are willing to say right now, you know what? I'll take it. If it means getting back up there again. And is there another way? There isn't another way to get back up there anymore without a rich owner who's going to be willing to put his hands in his pockets.
Yeah, there is.
That's just...
There is another way. Liverpool done it.
But I mean, John Henry came with some kudos. Owner of the best Boston Red Sox, a sports owner. He brought credibility back to the team.
Yeah, but
built a championship-winning side.
Yeah, but what you're saying was, with the amount of money that some of the others are spending.
Yeah, compared to Liverpool, I get that.
What Liverpool done, which was what we can't do, Sophie. They had assets that they could trade. and they traded certain assets. Remember, when Klopp went there, I think there's only 2 players at the club when Klopp went there to now. 2 players. So he's turning over the staff, but he's buying in the functional players. Right? He's buying in the functional players. You remember, Sadio Mane was at Southampton, Sophie. We could have
So
got
was
him.
Virgil. So was Virgil van Dijk. Yeah.
He was at Celtic, Van Dijk, when we could have got him from Celtic. No. You see what I mean? So would we have bought Mane? We could have bought Mane, could have bought Kante, coulda, shoulda, woulda. Our recruitment over the years has been a disgrace. And we've signed so-called names who it hasn't really worked out. But he's turned over the players. That's the key. He's turned over that Liverpool squad. That is everything. Because he had to.
But it takes recruitment, a good manager, and solid signings. So you could look at Liverpool, and our resident Leicester fan is in the house tonight, and look at what Leicester did, right? Mm-hmm. They won the league with a group of players that weren't household names, but became like N'Golo Kante. I mean, Drinkwater. Drinkwater's been nothing since. Vardy, Mahrez, you had Wes Morgan in defence, you had Albrighton, you had a couple of misfits, you had Ranieri, who was a journeyman coach, Kev. But then Liverpool, like you said, it's a bit different, but their recruitment was good. They had a good manager to pull it all together, Kev, someone with experience. And I'm not saying that we can't do that with Arteta. I'm just saying the jury's still out as to whether or not he can do it.
100%, Sophie. But the key to it is the turnover of players. Mm-hmm. Jurgen Klopp realized, Sophie, he couldn't do the squad that he had. If he could do it with the squad that he had, he would have kept them, Sophie. He knew that they couldn't do it, so he had to get them out. You know, Robertson, he had to get a Robertson in. The next minute, Trent Arnold's in the team. He had to get a change of attitude. He had to get a change of that change of hunger, that insatiable appetite to go out there and play week in, week out. And that's why I always say, and people have a go at me for saying it, and I'm deluded and all that, but it's a will to win. The players have to have it. If they don't have it, Soph, I tell you, it's hard to win. It's hard for any manager.
Kevin, I'm not going to sit here and I can't remember, and maybe the chat box can help me, guys. Even Henderson and Milner. I think Milner came before.
Milner came before, I think. Yeah.
Those 2 signings alone, again, other clubs would have been snobby about those signings. But those 2 players alone, the leadership qualities they've brought to that club and what they've been able to do. And also, selling Coutinho. Do you remember how the sky fell? And everyone was like, oh my God, selling Coutinho, 120 million.
Star man. Yeah, he was the star man.
Look at how they spent that money versus how Spurs squandered the Bale money. Like, that shows you a lot.
Sophie, Jurgen Klopp handpicked the guys. And you could argue, people argued, Mo Salah was there to be taken, Sophie, when he was in Italy. Nobody went for him. No. As I said, I mentioned Mane, Firmino, all these guys were recruited.
De Bruyne. Yeah, De Bruyne went back to Germany. Yeah.
Well, all I'm saying is all these players, the way Liverpool done it, De Bruyne is a wonderful player.
Yeah.
But the players were recruited without much hullabaloo. There was no, bloody hell, look who they've signed Mane, they've signed Salah, they've signed Firmino. It was... And then when you see them put together as a team, you're like, whoa.
I know. And you know what, Kev? I really do think, and we're 1 hour 15 now. We're going to sign off here, guys. But
Sophie,
this is what happens.
Sophie,
this is my favorite part. This is I love.
Listen, I know you've had a long time in Arizona, and I'm just trying to chill you down a little bit now because it's a big one tomorrow for us.
It is, and I just wanted to say this because I actually think that our prowess as a club in the transfer market died the day Wenger offered 40 plus £1. That's the day, this is why I don't want to ever hear him talk about who we could have signed, when we could have signed them, how we could have signed them, what went wrong, why it didn't happen. Shut up.
You messed
I don't want to hear it. You messed up. And when he offered that £1, who the F do you think you are? Just because I'm telling you that invincibility factor elevated his legendary status, and rightly so, but to the point of arrogance where then we go to a legendary club and say, okay, yeah, we want this player. And imagine where Arsenal could have been had that signing happened, Kev, in that moment with that team and those players, and what could have come after that. That's the day we died in the transfer market, where people completely looked at us and said, you're donkeys.
Well, Suarez, he put Liverpool on his shoulders, didn't he? That's what he used to do. He put Liverpool on his shoulders.
He was unbelievable.
And he wanted to join us. Yeah, you're right, brother. He wanted to come. Mm-hmm. He wanted out of there and he wanted to join the Arsenal. And whoever came up... do you know the funny thing, Sophie? Nobody ever says who actually said, let's go in with £1 over.
Who does that, man?
To a club like Liverpool, have some respect. Do you know what I mean? Have some respect.
Embarrassing, isn't it?
I'm telling you. And I think you're right. I think our club suffered because of that. Because if you get Suarez, other players want to come.
Totally. Can you imagine Sanchez? Someone just wrote it up, put it up. Sanchez, Suarez. I mean...
Ozil.
Oh, Santi. That's the kind of squad where you have, we'll score 5, but we'll let in 3. It's okay.
We beat you 5-3 today.
Yeah. I mean, we were that team, but we would have won more 5-3s than we'd have,
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. Listen, thank you so much for listening, you guys. It's been absolutely epic. Another superb edition of Kevin Says, and I love it when it goes into these organic conversations. And, we're going to have one of those organic, spontaneous convos that you guys love so much. There's going to be a lot that's coming at you next week. We've got some great guests, some great lineups as well. Plus some of our staple shows, a few extra content pieces, short form for you guys to look out for as well. Kev, Burnley, you've made it clear what your prediction is. Can you just please repeat it for all of the kids in the back?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tough game, but I'm expecting us to win the game 2-1. I'm expecting Thomas Partey to start in midfield with Sambi. And I'm expecting a lot better performance than we put in, although I thought last week's performance weren't great, but it was okay. I'm expecting a better performance. We're away from home. They've got to come at us. And I'm expecting a better performance. And I'm expecting a win. So, there you go. 2-1.
All right, Kev. Not feeling it tomorrow. Haven't felt it. I said we'd win against Norwich, lose to Burnley, and then win against Tottenham. Although, just for the juju sake of, I think we might lose 2-1, but I'm gonna go for a 2-2. All right, so that's my prediction, 2-2. Kev, you take us out tonight.
It's like Sophie. It's like you having 2 scores.
I'd like my cheesecake, and I also want my chocolate gâteau as well.
Of course, yeah, with the cream. There you go. So listen, Sophie, hostess with the most. Glad to see you back home, and you got home safe with everybody. Squaddies, always a pleasure dealing with you. And some of you had to get Bruk up tonight, but and not only by me, by Samurai Sophie there. She was taking the heads off at times. But listen, we love the club. We only want what's best for Arsenal, and we need a win tomorrow. So squaddies, you know what comes next. I salute you. And at ease.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.